If you have a principal, project manager, or business development person bringing in all of your projects, what happens if they leave? If your whale client shrinks or goes out of business, where will new revenue come from? Or a potential buyer asks, where is your next project coming from? If your answer is referrals, we've got a problem. In this episode, we're talking about the quiet risk of relying only on referrals and existing relationships. And we'll discuss how firms are overcoming this and starting to shift. So there's no denying that AEC, or architecture, engineering, and construction, is predicated on strong relationships. I think you would be hard-pressed to view 5 different websites of firms in this industry and not see the word relationships plastered on the homepage of a website, or even discussed in a proposal. So you can't really deny the importance of it. However, really the focus is trying to get a little bit away from relying on that so much and looking at other ways of getting new projects and inbound leads. So more specifically, there are a couple of reasons why this is risky. Number 1, people leave. We worked with the GC for the better part of 3 years and got to know them very well. They had 1 PM for each market sector, and they were in probably 10 or so sectors. Their top healthcare PM left, and with that, I'd say about 50% of their healthcare billings went out the window. Another example is client consolidation. A different GC we're working with, a little bit smaller, they had a great relationship with a banking company. And that banking company had like a dozen or so stores in the Twin Cities area. They ended up shrinking and kind of consolidating, and a lot of their just regular revenue was really cut down because of that. And lastly, the valuation of your firm. Now, I know values are typically not super critical when it comes to a marketing manager or a marketing coordinator, but that is something that the owner or the principal is thinking about. And a lot of times the value of your firm is tied to the projects that your firm completes. So if all of your projects are coming from 1 or 2 or 3 key people or a large client, it's less attractive to a potential buyer, and therefore the value of the firm is a little bit lower. So this portion's a little bit advanced, but it is critical, especially for principals who are nearing an exit, or for anybody who wants to become principal or owner of a firm. How do you increase the value of the firm or increase the amount of projects coming in? So what's the fix? I like to think of AEC marketing as twofold. So on one side you have building awareness, and on the other side you have capturing demand. On the brand awareness side, you're trying to increase the recognition of your firm. You're trying to get your projects out there. You're trying to get people to see the work that you're doing. This is helpful for not only industry partners like general contractors, interior designers, architects, etc., but also client stakeholders such as business owners, municipalities, end users, and investors. And on the other side, you have demand capture. So if people are searching for firms like yours or services like yours, or they need help with a project, and that's a project that you could help with, how do you actually show up and capture those inbound inquiries? Disclaimer, I think there are marketers out there that will probably disagree and think that it's a lot more complex than that. And very humbly speaking, we've done this with about 30 or so firms at this point. And this is probably the easiest way to describe it, is kind of this awareness, trying to build the name of the firm, and then also the demand, trying to capture what's already existing. So it's critical. The two work together. You can't just focus on one or the other. So how do you actually do that? Wonderful question. So on the brand awareness side, I'd like to break it down into 3 different points. Get social with a purpose, be selective about events, and tell project stories. So I've talked about this on my LinkedIn and whatnot, but it's almost a common trope of firms to just post polished photos, a team member highlight, kind of run-of-the-mill content. So if you're going to show up on social media, try to show up differently. try to really think about what's going to get shared. How can you get people to content or engage? So I think showing up on social media differently is critical. And I also think that if you're going to spend time on social media, go big on one platform or two platforms. Don't try to do too much. Second, be selective with events and sponsorships. So ultimately, there are the networking groups or the different social events you can go to within AEC or commercial real estate. And I think it's good to be a part of those and to show up frequently. I'd say consistency is key. However, trying to diversify and maybe look at connecting with or going to networking events of business owners or with startups or different groups outside of your immediate circle could also really benefit you as well. And lastly, tell project stories. Really within construction, most firms will post polished photos on the website and on social media. There will be a small blurb about the project, but everything that's underneath it is never really seen. One of my favorite types of projects is a historic renovation project, where you're taking a building that was built in the 1870s and you're repositioning it, or you're renovating it. We were on a historic renovation project about 2 years ago, and these doors had to be reconditioned, repainted, and they had to have like molding put on them, and they had to be shipped out to 3 different outfits across the Midwest to get this conditioning done right. And I think that there's just such an opportunity there to showcase that story and to cement yourself as an expert who has the relationships and knows how to do this type of work. And one quick little fact, you can really mold the perception of your firm by what you're putting out online. So let's just run with that historic renovation example. If that's a type of project your firm does really well, talk about that more, put it out there more. Then over time, people are going to start to think of your firm as a firm that specializes in that type of work. You can really start to mold perception. It doesn't just have to be historical renovation. For more like standard industries like healthcare or retail, if you're showcasing a lot of that work consistently and showcasing your unique approach to those projects, you can really start to move the needle on moving your perception. So we've discussed brand awareness over here. Now we're going to jump into capturing demand. So capturing demand, what exactly does that mean? Demand capture is the act of showing up when potential clients are searching, turning interest into inquiries. And the best platform to do that is Google and also ChatGPT. So before I jump into that, I want to assure you, principal or firm owner or marketing manager, people are searching for your services. Now, we've worked with several dozen firms on this exact type of work, and we generate lots of high quality projects and therefore lots of revenue year over year. So I get it. This industry is very relationship based, but there are also unique situations where people are looking for help building a restaurant or a retail store or even a healthcare facility. So if those types of projects are of interest, this section is definitely for you. So really within demand capture, we think of it as 2 different buckets or 2 different ways of doing that. You have both informational content and you have transactional content. You might guess this, but informational content is going to be a blog. It's going to be a project profile. It's going to be a video testimonial or a case study. All of these tools are informational. So if people are doing research, if they're looking things up, trying to find inspiration, if you're producing this type of content, there's a chance it could show up. The other bucket is transactional content. Believe it or not, one of the best forms of transactional content is your website's homepage. In order to show up on Google, you need to make sure you're trying to get your site to rank for a quality keyword. In this case, we're using one of our clients, and they're trying to rank for flooring installation contractor and company. In order to rank for that keyword, you need the H1, which is this section here, to say that. You also need the page title to say that as well. as well as the rest of the content on the page. In addition to a strong homepage, you also have different market sector pages or industry pages that can be optimized, as well as service pages. So if you're an architect, not only do you offer just architecture, you probably also offer site planning. So making sure you have service pages that show that and line up with some of the keyword research you've done, you can start to get inquiries from people looking for those types of services as well. So in summary, I think one way to look at this is to think of the perfect scenario. And as a marketer, working with construction firms, architects, engineers, I oftentimes think if I owned a firm like that, what would I be doing? And first and foremost, you can't discount having a great business development strategy and great PMs with great consistent sales. That's critical. However, how are we trying to diversify those efforts? How can we get more people coming in because they've seen or heard about our work? How can we start to get more leads because we're showing up well online? Having all of this working really well is, I think, a wonderful goal. And it's worth noting that this takes time. You know, we've taken companies that weren't getting more than like a couple dozen hits on their website each month to several hundred to several thousand. And that's taken a year or 2 years. And slowly the projects start coming in. So all this stuff takes time. And ultimately, you have to focus on measuring return on investment, which I think is a whole nother can of worms we'll probably get to in another episode. So if you found this content helpful, informational, just know that we're going to be pumping out a lot more just like this. So be sure to subscribe. And for those of you who like written content, each one of these episodes gets a full write-up as well. So be sure to check that out on our website at Vnzo AEC.com. Until next time, thanks for watching.